Indeed first. Test, test, test. Hello, hello. I do not need my webcam here. Turn off. Okay. Well, let's look at what the storm's doing. It's currently making landfalls, what it's doing. Oh boy. There she is. The eye is literally inches away. Nearly there. What's good, we hear you? Yep. Alright, so it's a CAT4. It's about to hit. I think I should still have the live streams up. No, not that one. Okay. Storm Chaser. This is what I want. Let's keep that up there. It's gonna be a CAT2 once it hits Georgia. 125 max wins. Ooh, F1. Still gonna skip it though. Where did I put? Here we go. Let's check the power outages. Yeesh, it's not looking good, guys. 8,000, 18. Still most of down here. That's at 200,000 now. Check out the bridge. That wave. Everything's underwater here. You see how everything's underwater? That's the storm surge. Here we go. It's making landfall as we speak. Right here. Let's go back to peak surge. Come on, look. It's being slow. 15 to 20 feet still. And this purple line coordinates with this red section here. Bad gateway. Check out how just huge this thing is. Tampa's probably getting locked. Let's check the winds. 38 miles an hour, 37. 66 out in the ocean. Pockets of 40s, 58 over here. 66, 64. Steinhatchee. Oh boy. Clearwater. Storm chasing. Ooh, here's a good example of storm surge. Not, well, and also just waves. Come on, I don't even have enough blood quantum to go to this school. Why are you advertising it to me? I can't even skip it. Hey, I was at that event. Ooh, look at that, man. That's insane. That's not even the worst of it. I feel like that house is gonna go down. But we are seconds away from landfall. Why did I go back? There we go. See what this sounds like. Whoa. That's a lot of wind. Category 4. 140 miles an hour. Look at that. Hey, Cal Animation. Check out the waves eating at this house. It's just getting higher. Storm is surging, that's for sure. Bro, look at this dude. This is Cedar Key. So that's in this area. Let's check the winds at Cedar Key. A good old 62 miles an hour, and that's not even the gusts. If we check the gusts, 109 miles an hour. That'll blow you away. 106. Cedar Key is at 107. Hatchies, 50s. 62? Whoa. This is where all the bad storm surges too. This is in the 20-foot zone right here. Still got Pulu pulled up. Hawthorne Avenue. I don't know what that is.
There's a lot more house to my left. I just can't get there.
Wow. Let's pull up another one. I wonder if Juke Squad's live. He said he would be. Let's check that out. Oh, wait, no. Not Dank Pods. Juke Squad. Wow. Juke Squad. Close enough, I guess. Category 4. Not a good time. He's not live. Check that out. It's now 140 mile an hour winds. 140. That's insane. Wow. All the models are modeling. Alright. Florida Live. I wonder if Weather Channel's doing anything. Hmm. Hurricane HQ sounds promising. Hey, Alan Lott. If there's any specific areas you want me to look at
City.
in Florida, let me know.
Steinhatchee, about 20 miles to
Steinhatchee,
the
that's
west of
right.
us on the Gulf
There.
of Mexico.
Really bad
Just,
winds there.
I can't wait to find out what the storm surge is there.
Oh
Could be 10
gosh.
feet, could be up to 20 feet. That will be a place I think that will need to be visited when the light comes up. And I
61,
hope that everyone
58,
left or got to high ground
and that's not
because
even
that is
Gus.
just a very, very unlivable situation with these conditions as Hurricane Helene, minutes away from
116,
landfall here on the Big Bend and the
Steinhatchee.
eastern coast of Florida. The third storm to make a landfall on the Big Bend in the past year. This one
Check out those
historic,
conditions.
140 mile an hour sustained winds. And
Yep.
unfortunately, this is all going to move in the dark of night up into the state of Georgia. And many of the southern parts of Georgia will be hit so hard. And then Atlanta, really, really worried about what's going to happen in Atlanta, that huge metropolis with all those trees and those hills. Could see potential for hurricane force wind gusts up there. That's going to be a major problem, not only with power outages, but down
Georgia's
trees
gonna be a
here.
bad time
Ari?
too.
Yeah, Robert. Robert is in Cross City again, which is a little bit east of where the skywall is. I wonder if briefly we can bring up the old radar. Oh, let me ask you a
Cross
question
City's
real
right
first,
here.
Robert. How does this compare to Debbie? How does this compare to Debbie?
96 miles an hour.
Oh, you lost me. That's okay.
Gus.
We'll go back out to Robert Ray in just a little bit. I don't think he can hear me anymore. No problem, because we're going to get right to Seidel in just a second. So just to give you an idea of where Robert
Power
was, that's where
outages.
you just saw that live report from. Now we're going to go up into here where, guys, we are right in the middle of the inner eye wall of a Category 4 hurricane. If you've ever wondered what that looks like, well, here it is. Let's go out to
Oh
Fox
no,
Weather's Mike
is someone
Seidel.
in there?
His shot isn't quite ready yet, but you're going to see it in a
Here's
couple of
Perry.
minutes here at the most.
98
But look
miles
at
an
this,
hour.
just to give you an idea of what is happening right now. Keep in mind, the technical
115 at the
definition
coast.
of landfall is when the center of this eye makes it out over land.
Look
So
at that. Look at the
again, we're
storm
probably talking
surge.
within
He's at the
15
top
minutes
of
or
this
so.
guy's
This
roof.
is Cedar Key, by the way. You can see this is a camera. Look at the right side of that screen. This is courtesy of Mark Suddeth.
This is also
He does
Cedar
amazing
Key.
things with storm surge. He will set up all these cameras and just kind of leave them there. And I've seen situations before where he set up a camera and it actually ends up, you know, getting
That's at
covered up
least
by the storm
15
surge.
feet.
I'm wondering if that's going to happen here. I don't know the exact numbers that we're dealing with. You know, we can check on some of the numbers from Cedar Key, maybe if you guys want to shout at me when you find that. But
maybe it's more
look
like
at
10.
the effects that we're having. Look at those garages on the right side of the screen. And this is not, you know, it's not right next to the eye wall or anything like that. Okay, so we're almost at 8 feet of storm surge in Cedar Key, which, remind me, guys, I think it was a little over 6. Yeah, that's a record. It was a little over 6 feet for Idalia last year. So it's already worse than Idalia in Cedar Key. All right,
gonna barely Cedar Key.
you know, if you're from there and you're watching this, and maybe you have evacuated inland, that is the situation. Okay, the previous record was, what was it? 6.89. Wow, almost a foot above that. So unbelievable. I was really worried about Cedar Key when the storm took a little bit of a jog toward the east. Okay, now I think we've got Seidel shot ready. Let's go to him. He's in Perry. Again, that is on the north side of the eye wall, and the inner eye wall. And this is probably the last of the crazy weather that you're going to see for a little bit, because the eye is coming pretty soon, Mike.
Yes, I just had a chance to look at the radar, and we're not far from it, and it'll be amazing how quickly the weather will change. The
108.
rain will end, and the wind will die down, and it may go almost.
He died. Oh no.
Oh, I think we lost Mike. Okay.
No, we
Sometimes
lost
that can
Mike.
happen in the middle of a Category 4 hurricane. But man, if you've been watching us over the last hour, especially, my
Man,
goodness,
those guys.
that was something else. Being in the middle of that eye
They
wall, an
are
expansive eye wall, guys.
insane. Those storm
you know,
chasers.
look. By the way, we've got Mike's shot back. We're doing a lot of audibles here. That's a confirmed tornado near Lake City, Florida, by the way. Okay, I guess we got Mike gone now. So the shot's going in and out, which is to be expected here. And again, here's the current situation. We've got a hurricane that is making landfall. This is Hurricane Helene. We've been talking about this so much in the days leading up to today, right? An amazingly well-forecast storm. I mean, shout out to the National Hurricane Center. They've done a great job with this. Okay, it sounds like we've got Seidel's shot back. Again, he is in Perry, Florida, which is right here. So he's just going to start to get into the eye. Let's see what the weather's like. What's it like out there right now, Mike?
Like that. 90+ mile an hour winds.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can.
But it is just
roaring through here in the Big Bend of Florida.
Perry.
We're in Perry, about 20 miles north of Keaton Beach, as
40
landfall
sustained.
is imminent. And also imminent here
Gusts,
is getting into the eye
98.
here in Taylor County, where they had a mandatory evacuation for the entire county.
100 almost at the end.
The power is out as far as I can see, except across the road for some reason. And it went out here at the hotel at 9:52 Eastern. So we've been in the dark for about an hour and 15 minutes, and hopefully they won't be in the dark for days. Like with Adalia, 7 to 9 days. Even Debbie back in August, they lost power.
Almost everyone's power is out here.
Just continues
Levy County.
Excuse me, here in Perry. And the other thing I noticed is the power flashes have stopped for now. If you were watching a little while ago, we had about 6 or 7 power flashes in a row, but that has stopped. There goes another gust. And just
99-mile-an-hour gust.
I keep mentioning this, but just the roar in the distance. And when you hear that roar, you know that moments away from another strong gust like that one, which will knock you off
103
your
in
feet
some
if you're not
places.
careful. You gotta brace yourself and deal with it. Ari, can you give me an update? I know we're on the edge of the eye wall, and I can also tell you it's going to be hard to hear you because my ear has filled up with water, and the my earpiece is drowning.
Yeah, no, I mean, Mike, you're
right now,
you're right
we'll
on
stay
that.
out here. If you can give me some
so
on what you're seeing on the radar.
You're right on that inner eye wall. You're about to be in the eye very soon, so you're probably getting the worst of it right now. It's amazing to hear the, from the amount of.
I can't hear a
he
thing.
can't hear me. Okay,
I'm just going to keep describing what we've got going here. Now here comes a vehicle down the street.
Mad Lad.
It's an emergency vehicle, but as it comes by, you'll maybe catch a quick view of the wind and the rain in the lights here coming across the street.
Wow.
And there's some more emergency vehicles coming here. By the way, the power crews are ready to come in here and get this power back on. We talked to the mayor out at the airport earlier. And we talked to some gentlemen who are ahead of them who actually provide meals for the power crews. They're expecting 1,000 in here tomorrow, but they staged outside of the storm track over in the Panhandle or north and west of where this is hitting. And they're going to come in here as soon as it's safe to go. Some more emergency vehicles going down the roadway here in Perry. I'm seeing just small pieces of debris blowing around, some leaves, some twigs, but I have not seen
casual 100-mile-an-hour winds.
We haven't even seen a palm frond come down here. So that, that is a good sign, but no doubt the power is probably not going to come on immediately tomorrow. There's so many trees in this area with so much wind. With these hurricane-force wind gusts,
let's check the other one.
It'll be interesting to see.
Check that out.
I suspect we may have
Look
cracked
at the tree drowning.
The airport. Hard to say.
Almost to the top of this guy's roof.
Now. Just listen to that wind. Wow.
Can you hear me, Mike?
Keep the low center of gravity.
Oh, it's one of the hundreds. That was at least 80,
that was pretty
90.
healthy right there. Pretty sporty out here in Perry.
Check that wind.
There are some more emergency vehicles coming up the street.
It's a house. It's a house. It's blowing down the road.
And, the thing about
it's probably a shed, but
once we get in the eye, it's going to be like night and day. It's kind of like a summertime thunderstorm. The rain is shut down.
Wow. Okay. So what you guys just saw, this is from Brandon Kopick's feed. He's also in Perry, so he's in the same city that Mike Seidel is in. And you just saw there was a house being blown across the road. You can see the branches down there. Again, this is the eye wall of a Category 4 hurricane.
Insane.
It's not terribly surprising to see scenes like this. There's going to be loss of property, a ton of damage.
Is that a dealership?
And,
all the cars are outside.
A whole lot of power outages and everything that comes along with. Look at this.
There's the house.
Well, I guess it was more of like a shed or something like that. But it's definitely a big piece of structure that somehow
being blown down the
roadway. We want to go back to Mike here, guys.
Check the Ford sign. Wobbling around.
Let's hang on this one for a second, because this really is some incredible video. If you look on the right side of the screen, obviously you see some of those emergency vehicles. I'm looking right in front of the headlights of those, because then you can really see how fast the wind is. And look at how fast
that Ford sign looks like it's
debris is flying across the road. Obviously you're seeing a lot of the leaves and stuff like that, but they're also some pieces of much bigger debris. I think I may look at on the right side of the screen there. That's a big piece of debris. I don't know if it's wood or if it's a piece of sheet metal. Again, it's a very dangerous situation to be outside during one of these major hurricane landfalls. Those pieces of sheet metal that can decapitate you pretty easily. It's not a good situation out there. Okay, so I think I see what was going on there. It was one of these either sheds or a manufactured home or something like that got blown across the road. So yeah, that gives you an idea of how strong the wind is. Let's go a little bit farther toward the south. Cross City, Florida. It's a little bit east of Steinhatchee. Let's go to Fox Weather's Robert Ray. Oh, okay, I can see some debris down now. So now you've got some tree branches
Still 100.
down. Is it quieting down where you are? Can you assess some of the damage yet?
Yeah, it's pitch black all around where we are at, so you can't see anything except for what's illuminating me and these trees behind me by the Fox Weather Beast. And I mean, this is what you see essentially. But I have to be honest with you, here in Cross City, you know, I have not heard the booms of, you know, structures coming apart in this area. And we've been listening closely in between live reports. I have not heard that. And that is a really good thing for at least Cross City. But, you know, you have to remember, we are outside of the eastern eye wall. Even though we've had some pretty heavy wind gusts here and heavy rain, we've also had some low, so to speak. And I think that's what we're in right now. The rain continues
Do you have any questions?
to fall, but the wind is
They just said Georgia's going to get hit pretty hard.
In Perry, that is for sure.
Oh wait, no, you're not in Georgia,
what
are
is
you?
so concerning right now?
That's Kai Animations in Georgia.
About 900,000 customers out of power in the state of Florida.
Oh, what the heck?
And
Why
as
does
the
it
night
keep doing
continues,
this?
the darker night, that's going to likely increase, especially as this landfall happens.
Look at all this.
And it heads up. Helene heads up
200,
into Georgia.
Almost 200 in this one alone.
This multiple times tonight.
200,000, that
is going to be a huge problem.
Look at all this.
For power outages and down trees.
Where he's at right now, 100-mile-an-hour winds.
Everybody, if you're watching from in the ATL,
give or take.
My hometown, up in the suburbs, please be careful.
Over here,
monitor the
at the coast, like 120.
We are trying to do here.
And this is Gus, of course.
A lull right now, and that is a good thing for Cross City. Ari?
Yeah, Robert, I lived in Atlanta for the last 10 years, too. I remember specifically Hurricane Zeta, the remnants of that
99 Perry.
That was a bad one. I think this is going to be significantly worse.
Steinhatchee's getting absolutely wrecked.
You know, we're very focused on the impacts as it's making landfall right now, but we've got so much more to go as it keeps moving inland. You know, these big storms, they can really hold on to their strength for a long time. This is going to be a devastating storm. You know, a lot of the times a storm will make landfall and then it's kind of like, okay, it dies down pretty quickly. That was the worst of it. We start to do, recap on it. Who are we going to again? One more time? Okay, let's go to Corey Gherkin, and I imagine he's in Perry also, right? Robert, thanks a lot, by the way. We're going to get back to you in just a little bit. Okay,
see where that eye wall is.
The boys are together here. We got Brandon and Corey. Corey is on the phone with us. We've got Brandon shot. Okay, what was that just blew across the road in Perry that we were watching?
That was a shed.
Can you hear me, Corey?
Yep, I got you. I've looked at a Winn-Dixie shopping plaza. The building got shredded here. I think Brandon had a shed or something blow across his feed there.
Corey, what was that was actually blowing
which
across
part
the
of
road?
Florida?
I can see it looks
over
like,
here.
You know, either a place that makes sheds.
Yeah,
or some
there's
kind
like
of,
55,000, 19,000, 12,000.
Oh,
there's a lot of power outages.
I think he had a shed blow across the road.
Oh, I'm sorry. Where are you again? One more time, Corey.
I'm sitting at a shopping plaza. It's a Winn-Dixie.
Okay, but you're in Perry, right?
Yep.
Perry's right here on the edge of the eye
a lot
wall.
of storms. I can see all the debris flying around now. You guys are starting to get into the eye, so obviously the wind is calming down. You know, what do you say after being through that eye wall? Legit Category 4, how does it stack up against some of the other storms that you've been in?
You in here?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh, good luck.
125, 130 mile winds started going across here probably within 45 minutes and just started ripping through here.
Which city are you in?
What kind of damage have you seen?
Or what area?
So far we got the shopping plaza building, all the aluminum siding on the side's been blown off. A lot of water in this parking lot right now, but we're getting ready to drive around and see what kind of damage there is.
Corey, I know you've got a lot of experience doing this, going after storms, not only, tornadic storms in the spring, but you guys go after these hurricanes. I'm curious about your thought process. Obviously you picked a good spot here for the content in Perry, where you got the eye wall that went completely through, which was a very fast moving eye wall, by the way. This storm's moving up at around 25 miles per hour, which is absolutely hauling some tail for a hurricane as it's making landfall. But, was it surprising to you how quickly that eye wall went through? Doesn't it usually last a little longer?
Yeah, typically, like Hurricane Ian, that lasted, it was like 7-8 hours. That thing was moving so slow. This thing, it just seemed like it just started and then boom, it's coming back down. We still have the backside to go, which looks pretty angry, for being honest right now. But
it does look angry.
It's not very often you get a quick mover like this.
Let's go to guts in like
Fox
the
Weather
edge
exclusive
here.
storm tracker,
85,
Corey Durkin. Corey, sorry, I got a lot of voices in my ear here. I was having trouble hearing you, but I appreciate the update. We're going to get back to you in just a little bit. This is a live look at Cedar Key, Florida, where, guys, this is kind of on the east side of the Big Bend here, and this is a spot that is getting some devastating
Cedar Keys down
storm surge right now. We're at record levels of storm surge. We have reached almost 9 feet. Are we in the upper 8s now? Okay, no, I'm sorry. We're at about 8 feet of storm surge, which is a record. I think Adalia had set the record last year at over
Cedar
6
Key
feet.
as well.
So we're about a foot over the record there. So this is a live look at Tampa, where we still have storm surge going on. Keep in mind, this was forecast to be one of the worst parts of the storm, right? The fact that it's such a large storm. We just were zoomed in on the eye wall, which is coming in, closer to the eastern panhandle, of course, kind of close to the Big Bend there too. But this is a good solid 150 miles away from that, what you're looking at. And it just shows you how huge the wind field is. We've had significant storm surge in the Tampa area. Tampa Bay, the wind direction came right into that bay. We've been pushing huge amounts of water into it, and it's just not a good situation. Look at this. Look at those stop signs that are completely not completely underwater, but I mean good chunks of them are underwater, and the water is still rising. I'm not sure that those stop signs will go all the way under.
I guess you can't
run. But the problem with the timing of
Look at these lights, they're still on.
That high tides are still coming up here over the next hour or two, right? So we started off the day. Okay, by the way, we've got some breaking news here. We technically have landfall now. So Hurricane Helene, Category 4, has made landfall not far from Perry, Florida, a little bit.
I thought it did that a few minutes ago.
Closer to the coast. Do we have a city where it made landfall yet? Okay, well, we'll check on that in a second.
Let's check
right
now.
Don't get too obsessed with exact. Okay, Florida's Big Bend is what we're calling it. So, Category 4, Hurricane Helene has officially made landfall in Florida's Big Bend, and this happened, I suppose, a little bit after 11 o'clock Eastern
the closest
time.
City.
Man, this storm is moving fast. It's been moving at around 25 miles per hour. It's actually accelerated quite a bit over the last little bit. This is, again, Cedar Key. Look at the right side of the screen. It looks like the camera has actually... Okay,
but
so
of course, with the onshore flow and stuff,
look how much wave action there is on top of that water. Those are the houses. Let me give you an idea of where Cedar Key is, by the way.
Cedar Key's right
went
here.
Out to radar here. Cedar Key is right here.
60 miles an hour.
Look how far from the center of the storm that is. Oh, we changed the graphic there. Can we go back to the other max real quick? Oh, we want to hit landfall. I'm sorry. Okay. This is the details on the landfall. Again, 11:10. So again, it was a little bit after 11 o'clock. Right now we're calling it Florida's Big Bend. Maybe we'll get a little bit more of a
so it was a few minutes ago,
specific spot there for the landfall. 140 mile per hour max winds. Now we don't have observations of that, but that was like the Hurricane Center's evaluation of the storm at the time. 140 mile per hour storm, which is kind of a mid-level Category 4. Very high level hurricane, that's for sure. And the pressure at 938 millibars. So it did drop another millibar before it made landfall. So now we should start to see the pressure rise, although that's going to be a very gradual process. Keep in mind, because the storm is so large, it's going to take a while to lose its strength. With the more compact storms, they'll move inland. They'll lose their strength.
Check that out at Indian Shores.
And then you can get to the cleanup. But the problem is, with this storm, we've got a very, very long night ahead. Be prepared for this. Southern Georgia, places like Valdosta, up toward Macon. Really, all of Georgia is going to take a hard hit from this. I mentioned Atlanta.
42,
you remember 4 years ago, the remnants of Zeta. caused extensive power outages around the region, a lot of damage. This one is going to be worse.
Getting
and look at this. The timing could not be any worse here. We've got a frontal system that's been dumping all this rain over the last couple of days. Now, of course, we've got the big push into tropical moisture. And look at this. Before the center of the storm has even gotten here, look at all of these flash flood warnings in the western parts of the Carolinas. I do not say this lightly. I think there is a high potential for very catastrophic flooding up in that region between tonight and the early part of tomorrow. And the Weather Service had some pretty
there's definitely a lot of water
serious words to say in their discussion about that as well. They're thinking it might be the worst flooding that we've seen in over 100 years, since I think it was 1916 when there were some serious floods around that region that's pretty close to Asheville. So be prepared for that. But look how soaked the ground is. This is just such a scary thing to look at, knowing what's coming, that we have so much more water that's going to be falling out of the sky. Let's get back down to where the storm has been making landfall. Cross City, Florida.
Ocean,
Here's an idea of where that is. Not quite in the direct eye wall, but man, Robert Ray, you have certainly seen some stuff through this night, haven't you?
We have. We've experienced the gamut of wind and rain, and now we have the landfall here on the Big Bend, and you can see the water pooling up here in Cross City, and some of the debris from trees. I mean, look, it's hard to tell exactly what is going on all around Cross City. The power went out at 10:10 Eastern Time. And when I say the power went out, when you look anywhere and everywhere, it is just dead black. You can't see anything for your entire eyesight. The only thing that is illuminating us right now, thank God, is the Fox Weather Beast. And that is a good thing. Indeed, we are still getting some of the push from these outer bands, even though we did not experience the eastern eye wall here in Cross City. Having said that, what we have not heard, and this is a good thing, is kind of the explosion of structures. And a lot of times with storms of this magnitude and strength, you can hear homes being ripped apart and roofs being ripped apart and power poles going down.
I'm sure that's still happening.
We haven't heard that, even though I know that that does exist in this area. Another big wind gust coming in right now.
Are they in
with the rain being pushed around. Now, when it is safe, when we can begin to traverse, when some of these winds do eventually die down, and that could be a very, very long time, we'll be able to assess. And we know, I saw, one of our storm chasers, Brandon Copping, with it appeared to be a shed or a mobile home running across the road up in Perry. I think you're going to see a lot of stuff like that.
Gusts still.
But Hurricane Helene, that made its way up the Gulf of Mexico, has made landfall here in the Big Bend and Nature Coast, throwing punches, haymakers all over this area. Sure, it's not that populated, but there are still thousands of people who live here, and there are over 900,000 customers in the state of Florida without power right now, including us here in Cross City. Now Helene has work to do as she moves up into the border of Georgia, not too far from the Panhandle and the Nature Coast where we are at. And southern Georgia will feel the impacts, and then
it's gonna hit Georgia at like a CAT2, CAT3.
Big concerns up in that huge population zone in northwest Georgia. Ari?
Robert, thanks a lot for the update, as always.
So many people out.
So many power outages in Florida right now. We're talking about how you're pretty much in the dark out there, apart from the light that you're getting from the vehicle. We're at almost 1 million power outages just in the state of Florida alone.
Almost 1 million.
927,000 right now. I'm sure that's going to go over 1 million as that eye wall is still working through parts of the Panhandle. And man, when you add on the amount of power outages we're going to get in states like Georgia as it moves farther up toward the north, this is going to be a very historic storm. That's a live look at Tampa, Florida, where we find Fox Weather's Brandy Campbell. She's been, reporting nonstop in this over the last couple of days. And boy, obviously you're standing there in water. How far from the shore are you? And the water may still go up a little bit, I would say, as we approach high tide.
Yeah, well, right now we are in downtown, so we are just basically surrounded by the bays. Now, if you want to get to St. Petersburg or such that are actually on the shore by the Gulf, that's probably, I would say, half hour or more away from where we are. But the waterway that's feeding this flooding is the Hillsborough River, which is just under this overpass right here. The water continuing to come up. We know we could see a storm surge up to 8 feet here. Right now, it's at just over 6 feet, which is historic for this area.
Wow.
And just to give you a perspective of how much changes or how much changes we have seen, I would say in the past hour, I was able to stand, let's see, maybe where this white barricade is on the side. I was able to stand on the road there and it was dry. But now the water, if we take a look, all the way up here, and we know this is not the end of it. So get to my point, cars have been getting stuck in the water here. A couple of people, they've already had that issue pushing their cars out, and at this point they're not moving. We've also had issues with the wind. We've already experienced the hurricane force wind gusts in this region, and unfortunately we know there has been at least one confirmed death here on Interstate I-4 with a sign falling on top of that vehicle. So Florida Highway State Patrol responding to that. So this storm already deadly, unfortunately, but this is what we're seeing in many parts of downtown Tampa, because these overpasses, it's basically islands over here, are surrounded by water. So getting in and out right now is going to be really tough for some people that are trying to get home. One guy I spoke to earlier was trying to get to the hospital, and he came here and saw this. There's no getting past this. I met the man who, in an earlier live shot, and we were live with you guys, who had his truck that was stuck here. He told me when they got to the top of that overpass, they saw that it was flooded for about half a mile. So they turned around and he came back, and that's when his car stalled out. So it's a pretty hectic night. I think the good thing is we are not seeing a lot of people on the roads. There are some folks taking a look around, or maybe some people leaving work at this time. But for the most part, it's pretty quiet. We're seeing a lot of first responders, the fire trucks going around, and of course, we have, police officers one right in front of us, basically drawing attention to this area that this is not passable. I've also seen the sky illuminated with green at some times off in the
what
distance.
Is this idiot
probably
saying?
Pointing out that situation of power outages.
Look at this
we have
comment
just over
here.
85,000 power outages just in this county, Hillsborough alone. Back to you, Ari.
Brandy, great stuff as always. It's still a developing situation there. I think it gets a little bit worse before it gets better, but you're starting to get closer to at least the worst of it before the better side starts to arrive. Okay.
Still a 4. Made landfall as a 4.
Let's talk about somebody else who's in the Tampa area. We've been watching him throughout the entire day. Fox Weather's Ian Oliver. This was a little bit earlier at St. Petersburg Beach. Look at this.
Transformers.
That was a massive power flash coming from.
Unbelievable. Look at that in slow motion. I was actually watching this live as I was prepping for the show a little bit. I was like, oh my gosh.
In this area.
I was slacking everybody. I was like, did anybody see that? We need to show the video of that later on. Unbelievable. This just gives you an idea of how powerful those winds were. That's so far from where the center of the storm was, about 150 miles from where the center of the storm was. So obviously they've had some significant wind. I think there were a few wind gusts over 70 miles an hour there too. Just to give you an idea of how bad this storm surge is, the previous record in Easy Bay, which is kind of on the south side of Tampa proper, was 4.56 feet. And today we have gotten up to 6.7 feet.
Wow.
I want to go out to Ian right now because Ian is somebody, if you're not familiar, he used to work in Tampa for quite a while, so he knows the area very well. You've covered a lot of hurricanes that have affected Tampa, I'm sure, to some degree. You ever seen storm surge as bad as this?
Ari, I honestly can't believe this. We made it. You showed the video from St. Pete Beach. We made the long drive. It took us about 3 hours to get from St. Pete Beach back to mainland Pinellas County, north, up and over the bay, and then back down to downtown Tampa. That's where we are right now. This is Curtis Hickson Waterfront Park. It is the park. When the Super Bowl was here, when we had the national championship here in Tampa at Raymond James, all the events were here. I've never, ever seen this. You mentioned before I joined Fox Weather 2021, I lived here for 6 years. I literally lived a block away from where I'm standing. I have never seen anything like this. If you were watching Fox Weather earlier today, Michael Estime was down there at the Riverwalk. It was one of the most fantastic additions that the city added, hugely popular. You can barely see, if you look closely, that's the railing now of the Riverwalk. Michael was leaning on that railing. the water was 2 feet below, and he was talking about the concern that this water could come up. Now you can barely see it. There's got to be 3 or 4 feet of water on the Riverwalk right now.
How it's not out there.
Move over here to show you how far. Curtis Hickson, the park, is like a big slope, and it works out as an event space because they use it as an amphitheater.
It's a lake
now.
Look
how far the water has made it up the park, and you can see the flowing water. That's downtown Tampa right behind us here, and all the way up to Ashley Drive almost. It's probably halfway, a little bit more than halfway, 2/3 of the way up there. And it's indicative of what's going on across the region. We saw a lot of it in our journey back from St. Pete Beach. And Andy, if we can, let's move a little bit farther down here. I can't say because we haven't been on that side of the river, but this is the Hillsborough River. We're only maybe a couple miles away from Brandy, if that. That's as the Hillsborough River comes down, meets the bay. She's been reporting on Bayshore Boulevard for the last several hours. That's down in this direction, so the Hillsborough River flows down to the bay this way. That's the University of Tampa back over here.
University of Tampa is with my uncle.
We've been in the car a long time today. We're telling hurricane stories, and we talked yesterday about
that building might be out.
The Great Tampa Bay Hurricane of 1921 that hit in Tarpon Springs. The wreckage here was total, and really all you could see in the background. I have to shout out a mentor of mine, Steve Jervey. He was the chief meteorologist at the station I worked at. He told me the story, and then he pulled out the pictures. They were black and whites. The minarets of the University of Tampa. It was the Tampa Bay Hotel. It was one of the only landmarks that was still standing after that storm worked on through and devastated this region. And they haven't really had another one like that since then. And that's, 4 or 5 generations ago at this point. UT has grown tremendously over the last several years. They've got some new buildings. It's right on the water, and it's one of the nicest things about the campus. Beautiful campus. The students are always hanging around, setting up the hammocks, studying right on the river there. And that river has come up considerably. So I don't know if any of their structures have taken on water, but I do know earlier when we were heading out to St. Pete Beach, the main building, they had that boarded all up with plywood. That was something else I had never seen before. The university doing
Check out the other one.
Yeah, that's what's happening directly across the river from us. And based on what we saw from Brandy's report, yeah, the surge is coming right up the Hillsborough River, and it would have to because of the kind of shape Ari that Hillsborough Bay is in, and the whole Tampa Bay area.
So what's the word on the tide cycles there? As I understand it, high tide is still coming up. So isn't the water still coming up because the wind direction is still coming right into the bay?
Yeah, I would have to think that the rate that the water is rising, Ari, has got to be slowing at this point.
Show me the wind lines on the Quest version of this
the water was rising.
Here.
One was the astronomical tide. The other was the push of water. The push of water is starting to let up as the winds back off, and Helene gets farther and farther away from us. But yeah, the astronomical tide, under normal circumstances, water would still be coming in. So it's kind of hard to say at this point, but I do know, and as you guys have been reporting, a bunch of the gauges, all the big ones across the Tampa Bay area, are now at record levels for surge. And I was actually messaging back and forth with Brian Norcross. Those gauges go back to about 1974. So I would have to say the Tarpon Springs hurricane, the 1921 storm that we saw, must have been way higher than that. But since we have reliable records going back to 1974, it's the highest we've ever seen the water.
How about the wind situation? I've been watching you throughout the entire day. It's been a really long day for you, obviously. Earlier it looked like when you were in St. Petersburg, when we had all those power flashes, that was probably the worst of the wind, I would imagine. Obviously, it's kind of calmed down quite a bit. But just explain to me how it progressed throughout the day. What a wind field on that storm, huh?
Yeah, it's still gusty. I mean, it's nothing like we experienced earlier, which was intense. We were on St. Pete Beach when St. Pete proper, the sensor at Albert Whitted Airport,
we've passed 1 million
in downtown St. Pete, gusted to 82 miles
power
per hour.
outages.
And that was a bit of a surprise. This was a storm we saw what it was doing. It was that weird
see it moving back
structure earlier this morning when it had concentric eye walls, almost like it was going through an eye wall replacement cycle, but it didn't have an eye wall to replace at that point, which was odd. But then as it got to about our latitude, when it was about a beam of Tampa Bay, that inner core, the microwave pass went over. The team at the Fox Forecast Center were saying, this is an intensifying hurricane. And boy, was it, all the way up to CAT4, as you've been showing.
What a trek you took there. You went all the way from St. Petersburg. So normally, and explain this to me, normally you have to go, you would go across the bridges, but the bridges were closed. So you had to go all the way around and loop around to Tampa, right?
Yes, three bridges going across Old Tampa Bay like this. South Tampa is a peninsula. Pinellas County is a giant peninsula. And then it has the barrier islands, which are 35 miles of beautiful sandy beaches. That's where we started the day. But yeah, when the bridges went down, we tried to make it over the Gandy Bridge. It's the southernmost one. It was closed up into almost the part where the Gandy actually starts to gain elevation. We did see, it was actually the old dog track, the racetrack out there. The whole parking lot was flooded. That property was completely flooded, and that's right on the St. Pete side of the Gandy. So these bridges were closed for obvious reasons. The Howard Franklin Bridge, which is 275, we had waves crashing over that this morning. We shared some video on Twitter with Fox Weather, and we knew it would be a matter of time before they closed that down. So yeah, it's just so many low-lying areas in this region, some of which are major thoroughfares. You got 1 million people that live in Pinellas, another 1 million people that live in Hillsborough County, and when people are trying to move around this region in a scenario like this, it is not easy at all, and it's dangerous, and that's part of the reason why the mandatory evacs were in place. And I think when we talk about storms of reference, nobody had seen water rise like this in Tampa Bay. It can happen, clearly, and we're still witnessing that.
So how about the history of storms around this area? Because I'm looking at some of these numbers with the storm surge. You know, actual observations here. East Bay, 6.9 feet. I know that's a record. That's what Cody was telling me here. St. Petersburg, 6 feet. Old Fort Tampa, 6.4 feet. Clearwater Beach, 6.2 feet. How does that stack up? How far back do you have to go to find a storm that produced surge like that?
1921, probably, unless there was something in between 1921 and when the official records started in the mid-1970s, which I don't think that there is a storm in that stretch. There's always a lot of brushes. It's very difficult. It technically didn't happen with this storm. It was just so giant with the wind field.
Pressure is always fun.
We talk about this on Fox Weather all the time, Ari. It's why this particular place is a little bit on edge when you get toward the end of the hurricane season, because you get a big circulation like this. It's hard to turn it right. It's what we saw with Irma. It's what we saw that cut in early. It was what we saw last year with Idalia. It didn't cut in until it was well north of Tampa Bay. It takes a perfect set of meteorological circumstances to have a strong hurricane entering the eastern part of the Gulf of Mexico and have a dip in the jet stream, a trough that's strong enough to actually kick it off to the right. That technically didn't happen with this. We see the storm still moving north, but because the wind field was so big, Ari, it pushed all this water into the bay and into the Hillsborough River. The water came up, and all of a sudden, Helene has produced a record surge.
It's been a heck of a day out there. We're going to be checking in with you plenty more over the next little while. Thanks for the chat there, Ian. I appreciate it. But we got to get back to the eye wall. We're going to go up to Greenville, Florida, which is east of Tallahassee. Tallahassee proper actually missed out on the worst of it. There was a little bit of an east jog toward the end with, mercifully missed Tallahassee. Unfortunately for people to the east, it's been a little bit worse. Greenville, Florida. We're going to go out to Mark Sudduth. Mark, how is the eye wall right now? Because you're pretty much right in the middle of it.
Oh, I mean, this is exactly what you would expect. It is like unbelievable amounts of energy. These downbursts that'll come in, and then it'll stop, it'll kick up again, and we're in a little bit of a lull right now. Let's see if it's going to pick up again. I'm going to flip the camera view. This is out the windshield of my rental. You have several vehicles that have pulled off here, including a couple of semis. That is Interstate 10 that you're looking at right there. That's the overpass for it. I'm in a huge, big pickup truck here that's very heavy, so I'm quite safe where I am. The pressure, let me tell you about the pressure real quick, Ari. This is incredible. 955.9 millibars where I am, and the center of this thing, kind of near Perry, is in the upper 930s. Let's just call it 940, but it's filled a little bit. So almost a 20 millibar difference. That's the pressure gradient. You know all about that. We got to get through that before we get into the eye.
So did you, as I understand it, you set up a bunch of cameras, right? Because one thing I'm noticing about our coverage, just about everybody's coverage, is nobody's down along that coast in the Big Bend. You know, it's kind of like we always talk about, there's reason why no video exists from inside an EF5 tornado. You know, when it comes to 20-foot storm surge, you know, nobody can be really reporting live while that's going on. Tell me about some of the cameras you set up. Where'd you set them up? What's the goal?
We started yesterday with a great team setting them up from Tampa
Wind's all the way back here.
All the way up to Cedar Key and St. Mark's and many points in between. Just heartbreaking seeing Cedar Key there. We've got a good friend of ours that we met because of Adalia last year, and the tiki bar that he owns there just flooded big time. You know, we're looking at Bayshore down there in Tampa, the Courtney Campbell Causeway. Truly, Ari, truly a historic hurricane with a massive surge. And our cameras are capturing that, even though it's in the dead of night right now. It's pitch black outside. Pretty remarkable.
So the plan would be then you go back tomorrow after it's passed by, or is it going to be later on tonight? Like when do you go back to get the cameras?
They could take a few days in some of these cases, these different locations. We do have contacts there, and some of these cameras do record onto chips. But since it was dark, that's not going to really matter too much. All of the cameras, though, get stored into the cloud, so we're going to be able to retrieve that. We're going to be looking over this data because video is data. It's really interesting to watch, and it's helpful to tell the story now. But later, we can analyze it and figure out how fast did the water come up, how high did it come up, and it'll have a lot of use later on. Plus, we have pressure sensors that we have put out, anemometers to measure wind speed, and those will all be very useful to figure out exactly how Helene did what it did.
Ooh,
Mark, great stuff as always, man. I really appreciate it. We may check back in with you a little bit in a little bit of time from now. Here's Mark Sudduth right in the middle of the eye wall of a Category 4 hurricane.
Look at this destruction.
You saw it here. Unbelievable stuff. That's a live look at Tampa. We've had significant storm surge, record-breaking storm surge around parts of the Tampa Bay area. And, boy, we've got a lot more to go with this storm. It's going to continue.
Load. I want to see the stuff. Man, look at that soup. It's house soup. Absolutely destroyed. Wow. That's the power of these things. Whip to the walkway right off the house. That bird feeder is still alive, though. Yawn. Wow, look at the sky. I should get like a hurricane background for these streams. What do we have here? They're on a break. Let's see what else we can find. Switch channels here. can't hear it. Oh, because I muted the tab.
Your screen, we do anticipate that that's going to continue into South Georgia as these extreme winds move north. So here we go. We got it full screen. 30,000 people in Leon County without power right now. It looks like 14,000 in Taylor County. Remember, fewer people live in Taylor County than Leon County. And then 8,500 in Madison County. So that is where some of the strongest winds are moving through. Suwannee County's got more than 20,000 without power,
going up.
And we expect those numbers to continue climbing. Fortunately, we've got hundreds of utility trucks and thousands of line workers ready to hit the ground running tomorrow morning because, as Cass has been saying, this storm's going to move out quickly. And tomorrow morning, as long as the winds have died down, people will be able to get to work restoring power to all of these neighborhoods who are going to be in the dark for the most part tonight. We would love to hear a report from your neighborhood, so you can
send us a message on
our Facebook page or send us an email
doing
and let us
there?
know what you're seeing where you live as this storm continues moving north of that extreme wind warning. Just circling back, I've seen some videos. Here's a new crash actually that was just reported on I-10. It just came in, mile marker 245 near Greenville. This is a crash where part of the roadway is blocked on I-10 eastbound. So people are still on the interstates and getting into trouble as these extreme winds continue moving through. As Kenya was saying, if you're going quickly and you can only see so far ahead with your headlights, if a tree's in front of you, you could very well run into it. And that would be a very dangerous situation. As we heard the governor say during his news conference, we've already had one fatality closer to the Tampa Bay area by somebody who was out on the roads. And so we do want people to be careful. And first to know, Chief Meteorologist Casanova Nurse has an updated look at the storm as it continues rolling through the Big Bend, the Tallahassee area.
That's right. I'll take a tour of some WeatherStem cameras. Of course, you can't really see much from Dowling Park, but it's still online. The WeatherStem observation point there having a gust of 75 miles per hour recently, and that's again along the Lafayette-Suwannee County line. So we are getting more of those reports from various observation sites.
They're talking about the Waffle House index over here.
The Swanee Valley.
This guy's Waffle House is open.
Across the downtown
if Waffle Houses are closed, that means it's really bad.
Just look at how fast those clouds are moving at just a few hundred, maybe 1,000 feet up. That just tells you the overall.
You guys should look up the Waffle House index.
Within some of these bands that are coming through. So if I'm certain no one's up at the top of the DoubleTree, but that would be some kicking wind making its way across those elevated areas. And, that's just not something you want to be playing around in. Over Florida A&M, recent gust at 51 miles per hour.
Still power there.
It's good to see that there's still power connected in many of these neighborhoods, and the cameras are still streaming. I know there's been thousands of customers that have lost power. But it seems like we're getting at least some pockets of ongoing availability of electricity, and that's encouraging. If that can just hold up, that would be great for a lot of people and maybe reduce the need for extended power outages. However, in the Florida State campus area, at least the recent wind gust is 45. Right. There's swaying.
Same house. Tracks are still bringing it over Georgia. Nearing on 1,100,000 here. Power outages wise, let's check radar plus. Wow. It's not slowing down very fast, is it? Looks like the back of the eye is starting to get over land. Remember, guys, the eye is not the end of the storm. I'm sure that everyone in Florida already knows that, but oh, you'd be surprised how many people don't know how to swim over here, and we live on an island. It's an island. It's surrounded by water. Why don't you know how to swim? Indy, check you. Overland. Heading for Georgia. Still a Category 4. Not slowing down. Still 140. Projected to be 125 at 8 a.m. 8 a.m. Man, that's a long time. Oh wait, no. This is not the future. This is the past. That makes sense. Here's the forecast. Expected to slow down a lot. But from 140 to 65? Almost a half of... I don't know if it'll make it there by 2 a.m. Maybe it would. That is a lot of time. L. This is a little bit outdated. Okay. Amazing. Alright, guys. That's gonna be it for this one. Stay safe. Georgia, watch out. It's coming. Alright. Have a day. Georgia.